of Ed shortly before he's due to die. Nevertheless, whether the aliens are real or not, Ed feels some affinity for them. In fact, much more affinity than he feels for his fellow citizens in Santa Rosa. At the same time, it's easy to feel some sympathy for Ed's estrangement from the other characters. As one reviewer put the point, Ed is surrounded by, quote, a gaggle of garrulous gargoyles in this movie, and his retreat into a policy of conversational minimalism can strike one as a reasonable response to their non-stop self-aggrandizing verbiage. It's worth reviewing the more prominent of these characters, briefly sketching the dreadfulness of each man and his distinctive style of loopy chatter. So Frankie Rappo first, Ed's brother-in-law and fellow barber, is probably the most benign of these gargoyles, but he's also the paradigmatic producer of pure, unmitigated bulletedness. In the opening scene, Ed introduces him with the following remarks. And man, could he talk. Now, maybe if you're 11 or 12 years old, Frank's got an interesting point of view, and sometimes it got on my nerves. And so as a sample of Frankie's nerve-wracking barber chair discourse, I've given you quote one. Frankie, unlike some of the other gargoyles, is not exactly a humbug or a liar, but his discourse is wholly unconstrained by even the laxest maxims of conversational relevance and audience interest. Then there's Big Dave Brewster. He does lie a lot. He's a vulgar, loudmouth liar who tells incredible tales of fighting the Japs in World War II. These wartime stories are produced with the aim of establishing for Doris and others that he's a real man. He is a paradigm of small-town male braggadocio and swagger, a thoroughly duplicitous windbag. Fairly late in the movie, it emerges that Big Dave was actually stationed in San Diego throughout the war and didn't see combat at all. His wife's family owns the department store he manages. He's also having an affair with Doris, and this fact leads, through a couple of notable narrative complications, to his being stabbed in the throat by Ed. Creighton Tolliver, third and other character, is a traveling entrepreneur who convinces Ed to invest in his prospective dry cleaning business. Creighton fancies himself to be a suave, slick talker. Plausibly enough, he wants Ed to be his silent partner in his commercial scheme. Creighton is a classic American huckster, and his pitch is elaborate, phony as his toupee, handcrafted by Jacques from San Francisco. In pitching his investment opportunity to Ed, a part of his line of banter is given in quote 2 on the handout. We never really find out whether Creighton means to be scamming Ed, since Big Dave, wrongly thinking that Creighton is blackmailing him, strangles him first. And so, by the way, another big talker in the movie meets his end from a fatal attack directed at his throat. Freddie Riedenschneider is a resourceful lawyer with grand philosophical pretensions. As such, he is the preeminent artiste of bullshit in the film. He is the unbeatable big city attorney who Ed hires to defend Doris after she has been charged with murdering Big Dave. Later, Ed is tried for Creighton's murder, and at least until Ed's money gives out, Freddie mounts a dazzling, if utterly incredible defense of him. Freddie refers to the trial as the Big Show. He's the biggest legal showboat in all of Northern California. His specialty is a kind of outlandish philosophical hogwash, and his philosophical predilections tend towards arguing that the defense standard of reasonable doubt undergirds the whole universe. Discussing his envisaged defense with Doris and Ed in prison, he explains his basic thought in quote 3, the absurdity. This exemplifies Freddie's normal grandiloquent mode, and he tries out this line of argument in Doris's prison. He stands in an intense cone of glaring light, a theatrical spotlight, as it were, improbably formed by the visits Santa Rosa, he stays in the Turandot suite of the Hotel Metropole. Yeah, it's goofy, he says. The suites are named after operas. In one brief scene, the camera tracks through his suite and reveals the stills that cover the rooms of the walls. They are stills of costumed opera singers straining after their own virtuoso performances. So, the man who wasn't there offers us these four iconic figures from the pantheon of American bullshit. The chattering barber, the blowhard, the huckster, and the shyster, each with his distinctive style of verbiage and rhetorical ambition. These are the leading bullshit artists in the movie, but they're not the only able practitioners by any means. When Frankie stops working because of his depression over the fate of his sister Doris, Ed is forced to hire someone else to take his place. Although Ed hires the candidate who, quote, did the least gabbing when he came in for the interview, the new barber, when he starts work, talks incessantly from the minute the shop is open in the morning until it's closed again at night. Or again, Ed goes to see a psychic, hoping to establish some kind of contact with his dead wife, Doris. This venture is mildly startling, since communication with Doris or with anyone else has never been Ed's normal practice. It's surprising that after her death he should search out such a desperate way of getting back in touch with her. In any case, the attempt is a miserable failure. The old crone offers him some disappointing spiritual mumbo-jumbo while failing even to keep his wife's name straight. As Ed leaves the ersatz medium's room, he says, quote, she was a phony, just another gabber. For him, the ubiquitous gabbing is inescapable. At the beginning of his famous essay on bullshit, Harry Frankfurt says the following: one of the most salient features of our culture is that there is so much bullshit. Everyone knows this. Each of us contributes his share. For Frankfurt, bullshit is any mode of groundless speechify, in which the speaker proceeds in more or less complete indifference to the truth of what he says. Certainly this describes the typical mode of discourse practiced in The Man Who Wasn't There by citizens of emotionally blighted Santa Rosa. Bullshit is overwhelmingly prevalent there, and Ed Crane is a human lightning rod for this stuff. This is apparently a chief reason why he is as deeply alienated as he is. But if bullshit is utterly off-putting to Ed, it comes quite naturally to most of the other characters. The naturalness of bullshit to them seems to constitute a fundamental trait of their otherwise undoubted humanity. But this fact marks another reversal of a chief assumption of standard space invasion movies. The humanity of the human characters in this film is not particularly depicted as something especially valuable, something that deserves to be protected from an attack from outside forces. These humans are too corrupted and damaged by their thoroughgoing proclivity for bombast and blarney to be a special merit or appeal at all. It is these fellow humans that arouse Ed's puzzlement and even dismay. They move him to search for some escape route from the unpleasant morass of normal daily human interaction. However, I want to emphasize that it's not the aspects of unquestionable moral squalor that most offend Ed Crane. After all, he's readily prepared to resort to blackmail himself, and he seems to take murder, infidelity, and blatant lying pretty much in stride. What does